Hey everyone, this is Jax, and I'm in the middle of making my lunch, and a miracle just happened, and I thought I would share it with you. So my husband and I have decided that we want to create some extra income, and one of the things that has been coming up lately is to do Uber. We live in a smaller district in regards to Uber, so I don't know exactly what the expectations are, but we do have closer centers that if we want to maximize our area and such, I have some information in regards to that of how to build the best Uber business and etc. And part of the process of becoming an Uber driver is you have to get your car inspected by a local mechanic. This local mechanic that I've been through before, hang on, I just got to put something in. I'm making passes out. Oh, did you get visited by Little? Anyway, and one of the parts is you have to get an inspection by this local mechanic. We've been using this mechanic a couple times for just brakes and such. My car doesn't get a lot of driving because I work like 2 miles from, not even a mile from work. And so my car doesn't get a lot of wear and tear. But in order to pass the inspection, we had to take it to this mechanic. In the meantime, they quoted us that our back brakes needed to be done, and that was not an issue whatsoever because we were kind of expecting that. But next thing, a gentleman that was there told us that he heard a rumble in the transmission. The irony of this whole experience was previously I had created a reality where I wanted to be debt-free other than we have a mortgage on this house. So we took a refi on the house, which makes kind of interesting sense. I had to have a whole process around the fact where I'm going backwards. I'm able at creating debt really well, but I need to be able to create income just as well. So you're on a journey with this issue with finances with me, for I want to, my finances are about to take a different shape. So as we were having this issue, they told us about the transmission, and part of my heart fell for they don't do the transmission work there. So my hubby got some quotes for transmissions, and they were like $3,500. The part that really bothered me is that when I was telling you earlier about creating the fact that I wanted to be debt free, we just paid my car off with this refi. Monday, we're expecting the statement to come in, the next statement where it says zero, that we owe no money, and that is going to be the best feeling ever. We've cleared out our finances so that we can start to live a little bit more comfortably, so that that our lifestyle feels better. And I've also realized through that refinance how I came to start creating some of the debt issues in my life, and how my money was going in where I was stocking up for all these things I wanted to do, and yet still putting money out to things I was not utilizing on this potential energy that I had here. I had all this stuff that was supposed to be creating and doing things and doing stuff in my life, and it was sitting there just festering and not even being used. And on the other side, I'm creating more and more, spending more money for more potential stuff, but not using what I have. And then half the time realizing that I'll do something and not realize I had some of it at home. And it just became this mess where money was going out both directions. It was going out to fuel new stuff and going out to keep stuff that was being unused. And so I started realizing what I'm spending my money on and trying to not spend money. And I don't know if I've actually gone out this week to buy anything. I didn't buy anything online. I'm trying to think if I bought something. And it came up with a bag of cherries because I bought these cherries. They were the worst cherries I've ever had. I bought them, and here I had cantaloupe, I had mangoes, I had grapes in the fridge, and they were all getting to the point of being overripe. And I wasn't eating those, but I had to go buy this $6 bag of cherries because I just wanted cherries. And I made sure I bought them from one of the higher end grocery stores around here because they're supposed to be known for their produce and how awesome it is. And they were awful. I ate the whole bag, and it was bitter to the other end because I realized on how I'm doing that. We're spending money for things in front, and yet all my stuff that I've spent money on is getting wasted. So in the process of all that and realizing that, in comes this issue with the transmission. And I've been really trying to focus on where I'm sending my energy and what I'm spending it on financially. And with my car and the transmission that came up, I just, you know what? I just went, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm just not creating that drama for myself. I'm not talking to people about it. I'm not, I told my mom about it. And then all of a sudden, my son talks to me on the phone this morning. He says, "Oh, I hear you have engine trouble." And I'm like, "No, I don't know if I have engine trouble. I just got told that by a mechanic." That was the story that I was going to stick with. That I really didn't understand what was wrong with my car. There was a hint that there was possibility transmission trouble, but I really didn't know what was happening. So I could have worked myself into a complete frenzy about this transmission without even knowing if it was true or not. Now, if the fact is that it is true that we have that issue with the car, then that's fine. And that's what the stand that I took. I didn't talk about it anymore. Paul and I didn't talk about it anymore. We had a really nice evening last night. We had some fun with doing stuff, and no more discussion about the car. So this morning I'm on the phone with another friend of mine, and I'm listening, and I get a phone call about my car. And when I was back in Calgary, I had this mechanic. Her name was Tamara. She was in this little, it was Minute Lube Automotive, and not a big name mechanic or anything like that. But she was the most honest, forthright person I have ever worked with in a mechanical business. She made, other than I had some salesmen that I had, and the guy that used to do my oil change was the same. But when I needed my car fixed, Tamara was the girl. And she's still in business now. I highly, highly recommend her. That to have a mechanic that you can trust is one of the greatest gifts in regards to dealing with services, because there's such bad juju around mechanics. And I, especially being a woman, and I am a textbook person regarding, I have very little knowledge of automotive. And so putting myself in a position where I feel comfortable and I feel trustworthy is, I wasn't able to find that here in Washington. I didn't feel it with the guy that did the transmission thing. I tried it with that and it just didn't feel right. I phoned this lady. I went in the internet and I said, "What is the best transmission place around me?" And this mechanic came up. And I called her, and it was like talking to me on the phone. And I don't know how to explain it to you. If you've talked to me on the phone, you'll understand. She was just, I don't realize that my presence on the phone, I guess, but it was just awesome listening to her. She was very thorough. She listened to what I had to say. I was able to get my car. And when she told me this morning, they checked in the transmission of my car, and the first mechanic didn't do, they went by noise and by sound and by estimation of what it was. This mechanic took out, looked at the transmission fluid. It's all clear. There's no shavings in it. They did a run on the car for all the maintenance that's been done. She says this car has been maintained better than most cars. And when we bought it, I guess at 33,000 miles, people actually changed their transmission fluid, and it's very rarely done, but these people did it on this car. They did a scope on all the times, any kind of time has been diagnostic. There's been not one issue with a transmission. There's been no warnings about transmissions. The guy took it for a test drive, and oh, hi, little. The guy took it for a test drive and on the highway. What are you doing? And brake in town, and nothing, no pull. And I was really quite surprised, because when I went in to do the inspection, I have a general idea what a transmission feels like when it slips, because I've had that happen before. I've had a turbo go on a car. I've had a clutch go on a car. I believe I've had a transmission go on a vehicle too. It just doesn't get into gear, and I understand what that feels like. There's hesitation. Your car runs but doesn't move. I told you I'm very simple when it comes to cars. But I've had experience with that, and there was no indication, no warning, nothing. Flag, and normally I can feel a flag on a car. I can tell right away when something's happening, and there was nothing. So when I talked with Terry, she's like, "Oh, well, there is nothing wrong with your transmission." And I thought, isn't this awesome on that I could create that reality that there's nothing wrong with my transmission? Because I don't know, I didn't feel that there was. I didn't want to even create that there was. I didn't even want to resonate that there was anything wrong. So now my brakes are going to get done. She did tell me there was something small in my front brakes, but we had that done with someone else, and we may be able to see what they can do to help us, because I partly put any miles on the car when we got the brakes done. So it's not a wear and tear issue. But how awesome that this potential, like up to $5,000 we were told, even $7,000 I've been told that a transmission job could be. And it went from that to, you know what? Have a nice day, and let's get your brakes done like they were supposed to be done in the first place. And this is the life I want. Isn't this the life that you want? Wouldn't you want a life where you come into a situation where it can be a potential threat, and it turns out that it just works out anyway, that it's nothing? And I only honestly, I just contribute to the fact that I didn't. I just didn't want to feel. I wanted to feel good about the experience. That's what I sent forth. Is that I don't want to focus on what I don't want, because if I focus more on what I don't want, I get more of what I don't want. What I wanted was to feel good, and here I am feeling great about my car. And not only great about my car, great about the finances, that we can continue with the plan we had, because I just don't want any more payments, and we didn't want to have the entertainment of having to buy a new car. Because there's no way my car, we just paid it off. There's no way we're going to put all that much money back into it when it's not worth that much. And it just brought up a whole bunch of feelings that did not feel good. I just were not in alignment with where I want to go at all. And here we are now. So I'm living testimony that this stuff works and that it happens, that you can really create some positive things in your life. I was brought into another attention, something else that it doesn't feel good, and I'm like, you know what? It's okay if it doesn't feel good, because it's trying to show you something so you can bring attention to the fact that what does feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, and why doesn't it feel good, and why are you continuing in that pattern? And I don't know, it just walking into that outcome. And I just realized with that sad situation that came up this morning for me, that I've created a reality, some portion of my reality of a past situation that it wasn't comfortable then. It was very, very uncomfortable. And now I've created it to a point where it's mild compared to what I brought it from my childhood, but it's the same pattern. It's just dialed right down on the volume. Same exact thing. And I'm like shaking my head on that, and there'll be more on that later. But if I can do it with a transmission where it's $5,000 and all of a sudden it becomes nothing, then this situation should be no different. So take care, everyone. Have an awesome day.